Welcome to the Central Residential Services Board presentation on adult protection and abuse. For assistance, call 651-6503. All employees have two responsibilities. Ensure you do not engage in abuse or neglect and immediately report suspected abuse, neglect, and self-neglect. Call 651-6503. Any staff engaging in abuse or neglect will be disciplined, up to and including termination. Staff are responsible to ensure their words, tone, body language, and actions always support residents with respect and compassion. Reporting suspected abuse. You need to report when you suspect or know that a person without capacity is abused, neglected, or self-neglects. You must report immediately to the Adult Protection Office by calling 651-6503. Duty to report, current law, Section 12, Adult Protection Act, means you are legally required to report suspected abuse or neglect. You must report immediately. For reporting or questions, contact Adult Protection at 651-6503. CRSB staff and management are not to assume, dismiss, or investigate any allegation. We are to report. Call 651-6503. What is abuse? Abuse is the deliberate mistreatment of an adult who lacks capacity, which causes or could cause physical, psychological, or emotional harm or loss of assets. Call 651-6503 to report. Types of abuse include physical, psychological, emotional, humiliation, intimidation, financial, and sexual assault. If you suspect any, call 651-6503. Physical abuse. Physical abuse involves using a part of the body or an object to control an adult. An act of violence or rough treatment may cause injury or physical discomfort to the adult. Slapping, pushing, pulling, kicking and punching, threatening gestures, injury with any object or weapon, deliberate, inappropriate exposure to severe weather, forcible confinement, chemical restraint, or physical restraint. Call 651-6503 to report. Psychological abuse. Psychological abuse involves using threats to cause fear and gain control. This can include insults, excessive jealousy, constant monitors, manipulation, dismissiveness, and more. To report, call 651-6503. Emotional abuse. Emotional abuse occurs when something is said or done to make the adult feel belittled or worthless. This can include things such as confinement, physical and social isolation, verbal assault, such as treating an adult like a child by trying to control their decisions. Call 651-6503 to report. Humiliation. Humiliation occurs when an individual makes fun of another individual because of the way they speak, look, or act. For example, do you always make a mess when you eat? Call 651-6503 to report. Intimidation. Intimidation occurs when someone threatens someone's safety or well-being by controlling decisions. This includes physical attacks, verbal threats of physical harm, verbal threats of withholding desired items or activities, and distribution of misinformation. Call 651-6503 to report. Financial abuse. Financial abuse involves illegally or improperly using an adult's money, property, or assets. This includes withholding or spending another person's money without legal authorization and forcing an adult to sign a legal document without their full appreciation of the implications of signing. Call 6503 to report. Sexual abuse. Sexual abuse occurs where an adult takes part in sexual activity to which they lack the capacity to consent. It includes unwanted acts such as kissing, grabbing, fondling, forced sexual intercourse, and more, and taking pictures of a resident's private areas on their body. 651-6503 is the number to call and report. What is neglect? The failure to provide care, assistance, guidance, or attention to someone who lacks capacity that causes or could cause physical, psychological, or emotional harm or loss of assets. To report neglect, call Adult Protection at 651-6503. Neglect also refers to basic needs such as food, water, shelter, heat, clothing, hygiene, and safety are not being met. For example, not assisting with personal care and when proper medical, dental, or psychiatrist treatment is not being provided. For neglect concerns, contact Adult Protection at 651-6503. What is self-neglect? Self-neglect is the failure of an individual who lacks capacity to take adequate care of themselves that causes, or could cause, physical or psychological harm or substantial damage of assets. If you suspect self-neglect, call 651-6503. Examples of self-neglect include living in grossly unsanitary conditions, suffering from an untreated illness, disease, or injury, suffering from malnutrition, or creating a hazardous situation. Call 651-6503 to report self-neglect. What is capacity? An AP report is only relevant if a person does not have capacity. Capacity is the ability to understand, with support and accommodation if needed, information relevant to a decision related to healthcare, physical, emotional, psychological, financial, legal, residential, or social needs. Ability to appreciate the reasonable or foreseeable consequences of a decision, or lack of decision. For concerns, call 651-6503. Capacity. Some key points of capacity. Capacity is not all or nothing. An individual can have capacity in one area but not another. Capacity can change over time. Therefore, CRSB does not determine capacity. We report 651-6503. CRSB policy. Central Residential Services Board seeks to protect vulnerable residents from significant risk of self-neglect, abuse, and neglect, and to ensure timely and appropriate referrals, interventions, and supports in the least intrusive manner possible in collaboration with community partners. What happens if I become aware of or I am involved in an incident? Staff responsibility when you become aware of an incident. For example, if a resident tells you they were harmed or you observe abuse or neglect. Adult protection incident. Remove the resident from the situation. Seek medical attention. Remove the staff from shift. Report to Adult Protection Office. Report to CRSB manager. Document incident. An injury report if there is no behavior. An injury and incident report if there is a behavior. The number to call is 651-6503. Staff responsibility when you are involved in an incident. For example, if a resident slips and falls. Client injury or incident. Seek medical attention. Report to CRSB manager. Document incident. An injury report if there is no behavior. An injury and incident report if there is a behavior. Call 651-6503 to report. CRSB process in an adult protection report. CRSB receives report. Immediate. employee on paid leave, ensure shift coverage, ensure medical attention, ensure report was submitted to AP office, inform family, board, and manager of residential services, investigation, request NAPE extension. Complete HR investigation after RCMP and AP investigation concludes. Receive AP conclusion and meet with employee. You can contact any community support social worker to report a concern or use the number below. Adult Protection 651-6503.